Perhaps you have noticed, Flash said, sitting down on an armchair without invitation, that we have lines all around us. Wayne arched his eyebrows. That's all, you should have talked to Robin. Then you know what they are, Wayne managed to smile. No, he said, I don't have to. They don't interfere with my life, they simply exist like clouds or the moon. I admire them, their precise nature, their clean appearance, their constant presence. They seem to have no power or influence, like the stars in astrology. So I do not waste my valuable time with them. It's a policy you might consider following. Although, since you have raised the subject, you have already eliminated any chance my advice will assist you. He picked up his book again, but continued talking. Indeed, if you consider their inertia. Flash felt his heart sink at the deadly sound of Wayne's intonation. He glanced around at the many books stuffed row after row on the bookshelves in the library. Would any of them have provided assistance? He did not ask permission, but put action to thought. Before Wayne could say another word, Flash hurried through the books, scanning each. He found nothing in the millisecond he needed to complete the task. He even managed to take a peek at the book Wayne was reading. Debbie Does Far More Than Just Dallas. It was published in large print with many pictures, all featuring sexual perversion. Flash slowed and settled back into chair. If Wayne had blinked, he could not have noticed Flash had been extremely busy in the barest amount of time. I can't imagine why anyone would be interested in them, Wayne was saying. Well, Flash said firmly, I am. He stood up slowly. I was wondering if I might ask your computer for some help. Wayne hardened. The Utopia 345 is a machine I specifically designed for crime fighting, he said almost through clenched teeth. It is not programmed to answer foolish questions from uncouth visitors who cannot fathom the intellectual range of a supercomputer. He sat ramrod straight. I would not presume to suggest that you might be asking a foolish question, only that the Utopia 345 is far too important to take up its time pondering questions best suited for other fields. He opened his book so rapidly that the binding snapped. Now, if you will excuse me, I would like to return to my own intellectual pursuits. Flash hesitated, teetering on the brink of saying something he would later regret, but held back the words and simply turned. He closed the door quietly behind him. Alfred met him outside the library. Will you be leaving, sir? He asked kindly. Yeah, Flash answered glumly. I really did want to use the computer. I'm trying to answer an important question. Alfred nodded as if he understood. Never mind the master, he said quietly. He is feeling a bit peckish this morning, what with Robin away and him being without a date for yet another weekend. He cannot bear the young master enjoying such activities without him. Alfred did not exactly smile, but the hint of humor across his eyes implied support. Flash was grateful for that. Without another word, Alfred turned and led him through the secret entrance of the dank, musty bat cave. The Utopia 345 covered an entire wall. At one time, Alfred said, as he paused in front of the giant computer, this computer represented the state of the art. However, modern technology has outstripped it, I'm afraid. I have a laptop that can handle almost everything this impressive machine can do and faster. Still, it's the master's toy and he is quite comfortable with it. He threw a switch on the side of the machine. It rumbled to life with rows of lights blinking, tape turning, and wavy lines flickering across the large central screen. Alfred gestured at the chair. Please be seated, sir, he offered. You will need to write in your question in COBOL. Flash looked at him in bewilderment. COBOL, Alfred repeated. Another pause. It's a computer language, sir, he explained. I thought it was a mineral, Flash admitted. Please, sir, allow me. Flash moved away. Alfred quickly typed on the keyboard. A series of numbers appeared on the screen. There, he said. I have dismantled the safety code. What is your question, sir? Flash told him. Alfred typed. The computer gurgled, lights flashed, the machine hummed cheerily. More lights flashed, the two giant reels whirled, another gurgle, more lights flashed. Flash watched the display with delight. Such an outpouring of energy could only reflect an incredible intelligence. Finally, the machine stopped. Words appeared on the screen. What lines? Perhaps you should have asked a question with a more narrow focus, Alfred suggested. Perhaps. Flash started to retort sourly, then checked himself when he saw Alfred's old face begin to tighten. Perhaps I should have, he amended quickly. However, even several more pointed questions failed to elicit more than the same answer. What lines? Flash walked away. The lines were clearly still around him, mocking him. He reached a hand towards them. You see them, don't you, Alfred? He asked. Yes, sir, the butler replied. They have been a part of my life for as long as I can remember. It's strange, Flash murmured. As you say, sir, Alfred said. I do not believe they are as strange as seeing the words I speak appear in bubbles above my head, but be understood as though I said them openly. Flash gaped. He hadn't even noticed the bubbles. He was so used to them. Every time he said anything, the words appeared in bubbles by his head. He could hear what someone said to him by reading the bubbles, yet he had assimilated the entire process until he automatically read and heard simultaneously. My God, he muttered, staggered by this new realization. Yes, Alfred said, I am sure there is a deity involved. That has always been the center of my faith. But I shall not bore you with my religious beliefs. Does Batman believe the same things you do? Flash gasped. The Master has his own personal views, and I would not presume that he follows my lead, Alfred said. He took a subtle breath. We should leave, he urged. I would not have the Master upset if he found us inside the cave without proper permission. They walked out together. Flash felt slowed to a crawl. Bubbles, lines. The whole concept was becoming traumatic. He always made certain assumption about his life. He was alive, that he would survive whatever trauma faced him, that he existed inside a real, plausible universe. Suddenly, none of that made sense. Alfred led him to the front door. Thank you for coming, sir, he said. Flash nodded blankly. The lines stood staunch before him like prison bars. Perhaps, sir, you should consider one more thing, the butler continued in a low voice. I have no memory of life prior to my employment at the Wayne Manor. I was always old, never young. Superman, I am told, recalls his youth. Do you? Flash felt his mouth drop open. No, he thought, he was always Flash, always an adult with super speed. Do not be too harsh in your thoughts about the Master, sir, Alfred added gently. He has always been as he is now. He knows no other life, no other existence. Alfred managed a wan smile. Flash could not respond in kind. This is hell, he murmured grimly. As you say, sir, Alfred said. He softly closed the door. Flash felt drained. Somehow, Alfred had quietly undermined everything he ever thought or imagined about himself or about life in general. Instead of remaining pleased, almost smug about his superpowers, proud of his accomplishments, even convinced of his invincibility, Flash felt defeated, almost useless. The lines were doing that to him, he raged inwardly. They were sapping his strength, they were red kryptonite, or even worse. He simply sat down on the walk that stretched almost endlessly to the gate that guarded the entrance to the Wayne Manor. In the quiet of the morning, he tried to think. What kind of god could create such an existence? Flash had long considered himself one of the most fortunate of the many superheroes. With his speed, he could outmaneuver even the most evil of opponents. Now, he felt worthless. He was penned inside these hated lines and yet unrestrained. Frustration built within him. There had to be a way out, there just had to be. He had to be able to sprint beyond the lines to find what lay beyond. There, he would find new life, new reason for his existence, a new sense of his humanity. The search for an exit revived him. He had a purpose now. He would lead the others. They were lost and did not even see how lost they were, trapped inside, forced to endure adventure after adventure. Their lives had no meaning, no direction. He would be the prophet of the new comic order. He began to examine the lines carefully. They seemed absolute and connected. Yet there were small breaks, slight indications of incompleteness. He retraced his steps to visit the superheroes. Yes, tersely said Blackhawk, who was preening and disliked being interrupted. Once or twice, he was sure, the lines ended without reaching the mitered corner. The other heroes were no help. Having dismissed the lines, they did not notice any breaks. The other characters were no better. Sometimes, Flash Gordon said, the line seems to stretch across the universe. They provide the borders of existence.